What is going on, guys? It's Jono, and today we're going to be talking about how you can use artificial intelligence, to automatically screen resumes and applicants and get them from a point where they've applied on Indeed to automatically scheduling an interview process, but only selecting like the top 1% of candidates or 2%, whatever your threshold is, using artificial intelligence with zero effort involved. Take a look at how this works. So in front of me, I have my sales dashboard. And if you guys have watched any of my videos before, you'll know that I brought this up a couple times because this is a huge pain point for me. I have thousands and thousands and thousands of people. You can see the number on the left-hand side here, applying every single month. And for me, I only want to take maybe 1 in 200 or 1 in 300 people, or the best, of the best, right? So in order to take that small amount, I need a high number of people applying, right? And for me, if I had to go through every single person here, and then if I had to email them and I had to talk to them and maybe even jump on a call just to see if we're a good fit, it would be more than a full-time job. It would be like 5 people's full-time jobs just to do this one thing. But in reality, I only spend maybe maybe 5 minutes a day or less doing this, just because I've automated the whole process. And we are going to be building out a system that allows you to do the exact same thing using make.com. Now, what we're going to be building out today is this scenario here, right? And what's going on here is we're going to publish a job on Indeed, right? And then we're going to take that job posting and we're going to automatically send the person a message asking them to fill out a form like this, right? And I'll just kind of give you a quick look at what this looks like, copying and pasting this in. So we're gonna tell them to submit, a questionnaire or for our onboarding form. And in that, there's gonna be a field here asking them to submit a PDF resume along with some basic information. And as soon as they do that, we're going to take this workflow, parse that PDF, turn it from a PDF into a text file, and then we're going to use artificial intelligence to rate that candidate out of 100 points, right? Where some criteria they might be able to gain points, and some criteria they might be deducted points depending on how well their resume stands out. And then we'll add that back into the sheet. And optionally, you can either email them immediately if they pass a certain threshold, or if you want to take a second look at your dashboard here and be like, hey, this person passed the, they didn't get rejected, but I still want to take a look before I talk to them. You can also do that here. Check it off, and as soon as you check this off, it'll also send off that email as well. Either option works, but that's what we're building out today. Before we begin, guys, just make sure that if you're new to this channel and you like content like this, to subscribe down below, because I will be posting videos just like this one about how you can automate different parts of your business every single day. And as always, just before we dive in, last thing, you can download this blueprint absolutely for free in the description below. In make.com, you can hit these 3 dots down here and then import the blueprint in here, right? And then once you connect in your accounts, it'll be good to go and activated. So let's dive in right now. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to head over to Indeed. Now, I use Indeed almost exclusively to hire my candidates. There's a lot of different job sites out there. Some people use whatever, right? But for me, pretty much exclusively, if I'm hiring full-time staff, even contractors, I don't usually use places like Upwork or whatever. I find that just generally speaking, Indeed has worked overall better for me. I feel like a lot of the times, just especially with full-time workers, I want to get somebody that's committed, dedicated to my business. So this is a great place. I usually have good success with it, but you can really do this with whatever platform you want. But in Indeed, I'm going to assume that you probably know this platform. You've probably used it before, either to hire or to get hired, but essentially people can find jobs online, right? So I'm going to just briefly go over Indeed. I'm not going to create a job posting for you, but essentially you'd log into your account and you'd hit this massive plus button that says create new, and you'd create a job, and then you just post a job, right? Create a brand new post. You go through the whole process, step by step of building it out. And the only thing that you actually have to do here to make it run smoothly is in the sponsored job position, you actually have to sponsor it. Now, if you just go down to like 0.1 cents, it's going to tell you the minimum that you can sponsor the job for. In this case, it's $4. And the reason why you're going to have to sponsor the job, and trust me, I wish I didn't have to do this, and I wish I didn't have to say this, but yeah, the only reason why we're doing this is because this is going to unlock the ability to use automation in Indeed, which means that as soon as somebody applies, we have these automations down here. So if you go over to the tools and you, all right, apologies for that. Usually automation is in the tools tab here, but they just seem to have hidden it on my account because I'm just using like a backup account that I don't actually really post jobs on. But usually automations are under the tools. Like you can see right here, as long as you've sponsored a job, you should have access to this tool or this tab right here. So you can just go into tools and automations once you have sponsored a job. And then all you have to do is just come in here and set up a new automation where you message new candidates. So as soon as somebody applies for the job, you can just send them an automated message, right? And similarly, you can also do this down here where it says automations. If you come in to edit the job, you can just come in and click like on the tool here and edit the automation as well. But you just set up the automation in a way that as soon as somebody applies, you'd be like, hey, first name, thanks for applying to our position. Please fill out our onboarding form here as the next step. And then you'd paste in a form here, right? And this form is going to be the form here that we're going to create, right? Where we essentially get them to upload their first name, their last name, their email, and the phone number. And then that comes automatically into this spreadsheet so that we can, run this make.com scenario so that we have ChatGPT essentially give us a score and they're either rejected or approved and we can schedule this interview, right? So the first step is just setting up Indeed so that we have a job posting. And then as soon as somebody applies, we automatically send them a message being like, hey, do you want to complete the onboarding form for the next step? And the reason we're doing that is because unfortunately there is no API here for Indeed. Like if I go into Indeed, they don't have anything here. We can't web scrape inside Indeed. So this is the next best alternative. Like we can't just automatically extract that resume from here. So we'll send them over this message. And what we'll do is we'll just create a form. I'm going to use Google Forms for this tutorial just because it's free and anyone can use it to get started, but you can use whatever you want. Like me personally, I'd probably just go high level or something like that. But that's just because that's my favorite CRM. So in this form, I'm just going to title this Test AI Recruitment. And we're going to ask a couple questions. First, name and last name. And we want to make sure we ask the email as well so that we can email the person once we decide to move forward with them. Resume and position. And you guys can ask whatever it is that you're looking for. Like I ask a ton of different questions here. Sometimes I'll ask like test questions as well to test their skills. So for example, if they're a writer, I'll be like, hey, write me a passage about this thing in my industry to see how good they are. If they're a photo editor or a video editor, I'll be like, hey, I want you to edit these photos or videos for me. Like a applicable test to see whether they're good or not, right? So that's really, really good for weeding out the best as well. So I'd highly recommend that. But this is just a suggestion for this video. We're not going to be covering that. So we have our form here that we've created with basic questions. You can add as many as you want. And we're just going to dump these responses into a Google Sheet here. We'll call these AI responses. And I'll just put test here, right? So we've created this sheet, we've created this form, we've linked it to a Google Sheet. And anytime somebody comes in to fill out this form, the responses are going to be pasted in this Google Sheet. So let's take this as an example. We will copy the link and test it out, paste it in the new tab here, and we're going to fill this out. So Jono, Catliff, I'm going to fill up my email here. And resume, I screwed up. So I got to go back and change it. For the resume section here, this should be an upload file or a file upload. And just to make it super easy, I would only allow specific documents and PDF documents. You can have like photos, like sometimes people will upload photos, sometimes people will upload other files, but to make it easy, I'd probably only recommend PDFs, because when we go into the make.com scenario, we're going to analyze that PDF and convert it into text, right? If you want to do images, now you have to have a different router here being like, if this is an image, go down this path. If it's a PDF, go down this path. I would simplify my life significantly by only allowing one option here. So I'm going to refresh, and now we have the resume option here. This looks good to me. I'm just going to skip this and paste in a sample resume, and I'm going to call this a sales position and click submit here. Back in our sheet, we now have all the information: timestamp, first name, last name, email, resume, position. And we can add in a couple more fields here to this sheet, just because we're going to want to expand on this with score, comments, rejected, and interview. So I'm going to paste this here. Now, this sheet will also be in the description for free as well, if you guys want to use this too. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So all we have to do is come back and take this send link here, right? And then go back into Indeed and then paste this here, right? So here's the next step, and we have a link here. So when somebody applies, pretty much immediately, Indeed's going to automatically message them. It's going to fill in their first name and stuff with these templates, and then it's going to push them to this form. Then once they go to this link, they're going to be asked to fill out an onboarding questionnaire with their first name, last name, email. This is important because this is how you're going to contact them if you like them. And then it's going to ask for their resume and position. And the position here would probably likely, you'd want it to be like not a field where it's a short answer, but you'd probably want it to be like a drop-down field where it'd be like sales or marketing or something like that. Just because when you're dealing with automation, it's really hard to, for example, if you wanted to go down a sales path or a marketing path, if you have a short answer and somebody misspells sales, then it's not going to work effectively. So I always like standardizing the output or the input so that it can only be certain values, so that you can standardize things really easily and not have human error accounts into the automation. Okay, cool. So we have this workflow here, right? Now what we want to do is build out the rest of this workflow so that we take their resume and then we automatically score it, and then we email that person if we like them. So in make.com, we're going to build a new scenario here. If you guys have never used make.com before, it's free to get started. There's a link in the description below. It helps me out if you guys use that. And you can come in here and we'll click the create a new scenario here, and this massive frickin' button that you can't miss, this is going to be the trigger. This is what's going to start the workflow. Now we can do Google Sheets. We could also do the form submission. I'm just going to do Google Sheets because Google Forms is kind of a pain in the butt when you're dealing with make.com, because you have to drill down like 17 times. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can give it a shot and you'll kill yourself after doing it enough times. So we're going to watch for new rows here. So every single time we have somebody coming in and, they, submit the form, they're going to be appended at the bottom or added to this. And anytime somebody's added, we're going to fire off this workflow here. We just want to make sure the connection is correct. So I'm going to choose the right account, right? So we're just linking them up, making sure it's good to go. And the next thing is we actually have to find this particular spreadsheet. And you can see the ID is right here after the D/ and before the /edit. So we'll grab that, and under select method, it just allows you to find this spreadsheet in multiple different ways. I'm going to select from all and paste in the spreadsheet ID there. Now it's going to automatically find it. And we have the spreadsheet name, which is down here, form responses 1. So we've connected in the right spreadsheet and the right tab. So that sounds good. And rows, just make sure if you do end up adding like an infinite amount of tabs, like I've done over here, where it just keeps spanning for days, you want to make sure that this is like updated to like ZZ or ZY or however many tabs you have. So you're just entering in all the tabs. And I also want to limit this just to 1 here so that we're not pulling in multiple results every single time something comes in. Okay, so we can click OK, and we're going to select from all, right? So we're going to choose where to start is when anything comes in, and we're good to go. So the next thing that we want to do once somebody has been added is we want to essentially download the resume, right? Now, for the purposes of this, I'm just going to pull in a couple resumes here that I had from other people applying to my positions. So I'm just going to paste this in here. right? And then we should be able to run this and hopefully it'll give us a response here. Yep, so it's given us the response where it has like my name, my first name here, my last name, my email, and the resume and sales and all that kind of stuff. So that's great. Now, what we want to do with that is we need to actually download this resume, because right now this is just a link, right? But we can't just pass in a link to ChatGPT and say, hey, go to this website, download it with their API. Unfortunately, at the time of this recording, that doesn't work. So how we can circumvent that is by using this HTTP module, and we're going to get a file. So this is going to download a file from a given URL. So we can pass in the URL of that resume here, and it's just simply going to download that resume, right? Which is really, really cool. And the next step here is pdf.co. So once we have that download, we're going to convert it from a PDF to text, right? So we're going to convert from PDF, right? And we have to establish a connection here. Now, pdf.co is cool because you can do quite a bit for free. You can just go to their website. So once you go to app.pdf.co, as soon as you sign up for free, it's going to give you this API key. Like this will be the screen when you log in, and you can copy that key in here and then paste it into your connection, which is right here, the API key, and then you're good to go. You're going to have access to this. We're pretty much good to go here. There's nothing really that we need to change, I believe. We're just going to upload a file. That file we're uploaded is automatically pulled in from that HTTP module because we downloaded the resume from a link, and then we're going to convert that into a PDF document. So that sounds pretty good to me. And we'll go ahead and we'll test this scenario out. What I'm going to do is copy this down one. And then this should, now when we click run, because we copied it down one, it will pull in that response here. And if everything goes according to plan, this should actually convert it from a PDF document into a text file for us to now use in ChatGPT to be able to create a nice prompt to determine whether or not we actually want to, work with the person. Cool. So we got a status success, and here is the data. Let me just see. We don't want data in that form here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to JSON output, and then this should give us the correct output that we're looking for. That's going to solve the problem here. So I'll go ahead and once again, just run this one more time, and we're going to get this response back from pdf.co. Okay, sweet. Now in the body, we have all of the text of that particular resume, which is awesome. This is perfect. Now on to the fun part where we can use ChatGPT to create a rubric, right, so to speak, to essentially be able to determine based on your own set of criteria whether or not you actually want to potentially interview this person. So I created my own rubric here, and I'll kind of share it with you guys, but feel free to customize it however you want. I made a rubric where, and I'm just going to copy and paste it and explain this to you guys here. But I made a rubric just based on my personal preferences of hiring tons and tons of people. We're going to use AI to, be able to decipher whether or not we want to work with this person. So that AI will be ChatGPT, and we're going to use create a completion. So this module here, and we want to make sure that the max tokens is set decently high here, just because we could be passing in a resume that could be like 3 or 4 pages long, right? And the longer the input and output, the more tokens it's going to cost. And the tokens are synonymous with how much you spend on ChatGPT. So just make sure that you add in enough, because if you don't, it's going to cut off the response midway. And if you cut off the response, then it's not going to give you a full completion, right? Which is obviously bad. Now, if you guys haven't used the API for ChatGPT, you can click this online help here, but essentially you just have to log into platform.openai.com, sign into your account or sign up, and then go into the settings. And then into the settings, there's an API key and there's an organizational ID. And you just got to add both of those into these fields here, and then you should be good to go. Please add $5 as credit in your account, because it's not like ChatGPT where if you just log in, you can start using it for free. You do need $5 as a balance to be able to use it. The model we're going to use is going to be 4.0 mini, right? It doesn't need a lot of processing power, and the older models are cheaper than the newer ones. And the role we're going to use is a user role. And here's the message that I pasted in here. So I'm just going to walk through this, and this is also going to be in the blueprints for free down below. But you're a recruitment manager, and your task is to review the following resume for the whatever position. So this could change depending on the position, which is also why we asked, hey, what kind of position are you hiring for here? Right? We changed that to a drop down. So it could be like marketing or sales. This is why the drop down is important, because if somebody messes up and they misspell sales, then you're going to have maybe a potential issue here. I don't know, just always safe to err on the side of caution. But whatever position, and please use the following criteria. Rate from 0 to 100%. There's a maximum of 100 points that someone can get, assuming that they have a perfect resume and no points are deducted based on red flags. So let's go over the criteria here. So number one is, and this is just what I came up with, but you guys can do whatever you want with it. Number one is experience in the role, and this is 40 points. So if the candidate has more than 3 years of experience in the position, award 20 points. Degree in relevant field. To me, I know it depends on the job. I know a lot of people, especially in a very technical job, this might be important. But for me, I don't it doesn't, just personally, it doesn't matter too much to me. The experience is everything for me. I'd take somebody with experience any day over somebody who has a flashy degree. But if the candidate has a degree in whatever a related field, you can award 10 points. Spelling and grammar, 15 points deducted. So if the person has made multiple spelling mistakes, then probably, that's definitely a red flag. So I'm going to deduct 15 points from them. Reputable university. Once again, this is it could go either way. I don't really care about this personally. I've never really used it, but I was just throwing in that additional criteria that you could use. So the candidate has graduated from a reputable university, award 5 out of 100 points. Sales experience. If the candidate has experience in cold calling, inbound calling, or prospecting, award 20 points. And this is where the drop down comes in. So if you guys come in to this field here and you have a drop down, you could have an if statement, right? So in the if statements, you could be for example, if position, and we'll scroll down and grab the position that they applied with. So if position here equals sales, then go down path A. If not, go down path B, right? And you could also just do instead of go down path B, you could be empty string here, and then do another one being if equals marketing, then go down path A, otherwise ignore, right? So this is how you can build out multiple skill sets so that it's not just sales, but it's more dynamic than that. Unemployment gap, 30 points deduction. This is pretty much an automatic fail. But if the candidate hasn't had a job in a year or more, deduct 10 points. Job, or you could also say if the candidate has, a gap of 3 years, also deduct 10 or 30 points, right? So that's another thing that you could do here. And then job longevity. So if the average length that the candidate has held a job for is less than 1.5 years cumulatively across all jobs, then deduct 30 points as well. And then keyword frequency. So if the candidate mentions the word sales or whatever, or similar keywords 5 or more times, award 5 points. Now, once again, this is all subjective. You guys can do whatever it is that you want with it. This is just the criteria that I typically look at when I hire people, just based on the roles that I like to hire for. that's you know, that is the criteria that I use, right? And I find it pretty effective, but it's not a silver bullet. It just works for me, and everyone's slightly different when it comes to actually hiring people. So that's my criteria. The only other thing that I need to do here is I just need to fill this variable here, with the sales position. So I'm just gonna quickly fill this in. So we'll copy and paste this in. And this is going to be in the blueprints for free, guys, if you want to have this, right? Otherwise, you're welcome to use your own. But the important thing is that all these points, if they score perfectly, should add up to 100. And if, that's the best score. Now, there's just one more thing that goes into this, and this will also be in the blueprints, but we have a system message down here, right? And essentially what we're saying is, please provide the output in JSON format. Here's the exact format. Placeholders will be changed. So why we're doing this is because what can happen is that if you were just to run this, right, this 10 times without this system roll down here, it might change the format of the output every single time, right? So number one, it will likely say like evaluation here, but then number two, it might be score, and number three, it might be points, and number four, it could be something else. And the problem is like, take this position here, right? If I want to reference position, I come down and I know, okay, I got to click column F position. But if this was changed to column G, all of a sudden, if I was referencing column F still, I wouldn't be able to grab that, right? So if you change the name of the key, then you're not going to be able to reference it anymore. So we need to standardize the structure of the data so that every time we call this data, it's always the same no matter what, right? So we're telling ChatGPT the exact data structure that we need so that there's no mistakes, so that we can reference this, tally the score, and then give that output into the sheet and then schedule appointment with the person or reject the person if we want to. Okay, perfect. So that's essentially it. These placeholders here, you don't have to change. Like, this is just me putting in a placeholder here to tell ChatGPT that, hey, this has to change. Like, all of these keys are going to be the same, right? So for example, unemployment gap, all of this text, the only thing that ChatGPT should actually change here is the points awarded or deducted, pardon me, for this. So if they have an employment gap of more than 1 year, then you deduct points. If not, don't deduct points, right? So that is it. This will also be in the description below. But if you guys wanted to build this yourself, essentially you would just run the ChatGPT module one time. It would give you a simple output, and then you could copy that output like I did here, and then just paste it in again and again and again, so that it always gives, something new. And similarly here, these should also be placeholders as well. Okay, sweet. So that's it, right? We're pretty much good to go here. All we have to do now is come back into Google Sheets, and we're going to update a row, right? Just to add back the responses here, like the score and the comments and whether they're rejected or whether we want to schedule an interview. So coming back in here, we're just going to make sure the connection's all good to go. And then select from all, and then enter in the spreadsheet ID. So coming back in here one more time, I'm just going to grab this again. And there we go. So here's the ID between the two slashes there. Paste that in. And sometimes it just has map are automatically checked off here. I like to uncheck that and then just pull in form responses 1. And the row number we know because, oh man, okay, that was a close call. Very close call. Almost deleted all my history there. That would have been frustrating. That's a good pause, a good break to tell you to always save. If you hit Command S here, it will automatically save, not to your computer, but if you come into the scenario and hit Command S, it'll always save your scenario. This is a lifesaver, trust me. The amount of hours I've saved doing that is astronomical, but you should be able to reference the actual spreadsheet because we started this workflow with Google Sheets. So we know what row started this because when we update a row, it's going to pass in all the information from that row, including the row number. So we have the row number here, right? And unfortunately, we just have to select this sheet one more time. So we're going to go in and go ahead and do the same thing. Choose form responses 1, and the row number here, all the way down to the bottom, row number 4 there. Okay, so we're good to go. Score is going to be in this results section here. Now, we don't have any results yet because we haven't run the scenario. So I'm going to go ahead and once again, copy this down a row and run this. And then we should get responses from ChatGPT. Actually, before we do that, we just need to change one more thing here. We need to make sure it's in JSON format. So show advanced settings. All the way at the bottom, we need to make sure the response is JSON. We also need to click parse JSON response. And because this particular scenario is pretty long, I'm actually going to put 3,000 tokens here just because I don't want it to cut off, or else the JSON is going to get messed up and we're not going to be able to use it. I'll pause while I run this and then I'll circle back when it's all done. Okay, sweet. So we have officially ran the results here and everything looks good to me. So we're going to add in the data from ChatGPT here. Now, under the score, we should see the total points here, which is equal to 70. And then comments, we can map the comments field from ChatGPT here. And then the rejected field is going to be subjective to whatever you want it to be. But how we can set this up is by using an if statement here, okay? And with this if statement, we want to take the points. So there's 3 parts to the if statement. First is the condition that needs to be met. And then if the condition is met, say 1 equals 2, if it's true, it goes down path A. If it's false, it goes down path B. Because this is false, it would go down path B. But if 1 equals 1, it would go down path 1, right? Or path A here. So the condition that we want is the total points, right, greater than or equal to 75. And if it's greater than or if it's equal to 75, then what we're going to do is we're going to put here false. And then if not, it's true. So in other words, rejected here, right, is going to be a checkbox. Now, when you come in here and you paste checkboxes, the cool thing is anytime you add a new sheet or new row to Google Sheets, it'll copy this formatting down. So the next time it'll have checkboxes too. If a checkbox is unchecked, it's false. If it's checked, it's true, right? So if the total points is less than 75, then if it's greater than 75, then the person is not rejected. But if it's less than 75, then they are rejected, right? Cool. So that step is done. We've successfully added that into our particular spreadsheet here. And in this case, you can actually see that this person, unfortunately, would have been rejected based on this, right? So from here, what we can do is if you want to automate this process, let's say, we can have a router here, okay? And the first one is rejected. And this path is going to be, hey, if the points here, so total points is less than numerical, less than 75, then it goes down this path. And if we want to schedule an interview, then the total points is going to be greater than or equal to 75, right? And we can simply just send them an email, right? So I'm going to start with accepted. So email down here, send an email. And this is only if you want to email that person automatically, right? And we'll circle back to what you can do if you want to send them an email manually. But you just say to, and you'd enter in their email here, which we got from the spreadsheet, right? Because this whole workflow started when they entered the spreadsheet. So we have the email here. And then the subject line is whatever, congratulations. Congratulations, we want to interview you. And then I'm going to paste in the response here, which is just something generic. The reason I'm choosing email instead of Gmail here is because with Gmail, you only have content type HTML, which is kind of a pain. If I'm not gonna lie, like it really sucks. I hate having to put like line breaks using HTML which is like this every time you want to have a line break. It's just annoying. So we're going to use plain text in email, select the right email here. Holy cow, that's a lot. We'll select the email and we'll just enter in an appointment being like, hey, we want to interview you. Here's the calendar link that you can choose. We'll map in their first name down below here as well. So we're just addressing them by their first name. Same kind of deal for the rejected sign or rejected way. You can just fill in something here being like, hey, sorry, we direction. Anyways, that's how you can start. You can create this workflow. The only other thing you may want to do is maybe you want to have a bit more intervention over this and be able to decide whether or not you want to interview that person. And this is personally what I would do. Like, even if ChatGPT accepted them, I wouldn't want to schedule a call with every single person. I just want to shortlist the people that I could potentially talk to, because, at the end of the day, I don't want to be jumping on 15, 30, 45 minutes or 60-minute calls with people just because ChatGPT defined based on a set of criteria that I specified that I should be talking to them, right? So I want to avoid that, because, with interviews, it's like a lot of the times you'll show up and within 2 seconds, you'll know, right? Or 3 seconds or 5 seconds, and then you'll spend 40 minutes on the call anyways, right? So to avoid that, it's better, it's better just to make sure you do a double check here. So how we can do that is by simply having one more workflow here. So in the scenarios tab, we're just going to create another workflow in make.com. And with this workflow, we're going to have a different trigger. It's still going to be Google Sheets here, but instead of watch for new rows, it's going to be watch changes, which means that when somebody checks off this check mark here, only then do we schedule that call. And it's going to give us a webhook here. So we add a webhook and we can just call this AI responses or AI candidates and click save. It's going to generate this URL for us. This is unique to this scenario and your account. If you paste this into a new tab, this is the unique part. And then this is the make.com service. We're going to copy that, right? Come in here. There's 2 things we need to do to set this up. In extensions, in add-ons, get add-ons. We just need to add the make.com extension for Google Sheets, which allows you to watch for changes. So make.com for Google Sheets, just make sure you can see, wow, a lot of people are adding this. Good job, guys. This is a lot more people are using make.com. Like literally every time I see this, it goes up. But yeah, so you can add that in one time for your Chrome extension, your browser. And then in the extensions, you should have access to make for Google Sheets. Under settings, all you have to do is take that link that you just copied down here. We're going to click OK here, and we'll paste it into the webhook URL here. And then scroll down and click save. And then in 3 seconds, this will save automatically. I feel so robotic saying that. Like I've literally said the same thing at least 50 times, but well, maybe not 50, but like a ton of times at this point in time. Sweet, which means that if we just run this scenario and I do anything here, it's automatically going to pull in the value that I pasted here and everything in the row. So you can see that the value is what I pasted in there, and then it'll give us all the rows based on row 5, or sorry, all the columns based on row 5. So that's really, really cool, right? So all we'd have to do is send an email off here. So we'll click email, send email, and then we'll just make sure to connect it into the right account one more time, and then send to okay, I'm just gonna exit off of this. We're gonna send to the right recipient, which once again in row is going to be the email, which is column D, right? And then I'm just gonna paste in random placeholders for now because this doesn't matter. You can send in whatever you want. The only thing that matters here is the filter section. And in the filter section, we just need to make sure that we're not firing this every single time anything ever changes at any point in time. We only want to fire this if we check the checkbox off here, and this is true, right? So how we do that is we make sure that first of all, the starting column is going to be the column of J, which we have to count this up: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So J is the 10th column. I'm always curious to see how many people actually would know J is the 10th letter in the alphabet. Like, to me, I have to count it every time, but I wonder if there's people out there that just know, like, right away, J is the 10th letter. Anyways, just moving on past that comment, the next thing we got to do here is just make sure that the value is set to true here, right? So the value is not ASF, SADF, SD, or whatever it is that I wrote there, but it's actually true. And the reason why is, like, we don't want to fire this if it's false, right? So if you're like, I want to interview, or I don't, or whatever, or maybe you make a mistake, it doesn't fire off, right? So it's only if this is true, and then we're pretty much good to go, right? So both the value change has to be in this column and it has to be true in order for this to fire. And then we're going to send off that email to the person. And that is how you can fully use AI to automate the process. So first of all, getting candidates from Indeed, then sending them into a Google form, and then getting the response from the Google form and using artificial intelligence to automatically determine whether or not that candidate is rejected or accepted and should be scheduled for an interview with you. And then based on how you want to proceed, you can either automatically email that person to schedule an interview, or you can have a manual approach where you determine whether or not you want to talk to that person, which is what I would recommend personally, because there's nothing worse than jumping on a call with somebody that you know 2 seconds into the call is not the right candidate for your position. So thanks guys for watching this video. I really hope it helped. This was a game changer for me. It really saved a lot of time. Like, I just can't tell you the amount of time I had to spend, like, just either emailing or even just asking my assistant to email these people and always follow up with them, being like, hey, if you emailed them for this stage or that stage or this or that. And it's just, it's a lot of work, but more importantly, it's a lot of mental bandwidth that you have to consume that you could otherwise be dedicating to other areas of your life that are more important. So thanks guys. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.